Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad Irfan and this video is brought to you by Mario. Follow us on social media and let's connect and build together. So this lecture is about stakeholder management and clinical buy-in. We will be focusing on the human factor in our project, the technical components of a clinical project, and the user experience and integration of our project and models to the already orchestrated clinical infrastructure. So let's get into it. Our core philosophy is socio-technical system to build a socio-technical system, which means that the project that we are building in clinical AI, it's not merely a simple algorithm that is residing inside a system. It is basically a human machine ecosystem in which a human is constantly interacting with the our project or our model. So we need to move on from a user mentality to a stakeholder partnership. A stakeholder is anyone who is affected directly or indirectly by our project, and we need to identify our stakeholders and different types of stakeholders. So to map different stakeholders, there are three types of stakeholders. First of all, the primary ones are those who are directly affected or who work directly with the product or the system. They include clinicians, doctors, nurses, etc., who interact directly with the tools output in real time. Next, we have the secondary stakeholders. This is basically the technical enablers. These are the IT, security, and DevOps staff who manage the servers, pipelines, and data access. So this is how we are basically the secondary stakeholders of our project. And then the tertiary ones are the ones who are not directly affected by our project, but they are the ones who make decisions. For example, the hospital administrations, the chief financial officers, their focus is on hospital policy, cost management, and the legal risks and mitigations of those risks in our project. So these are the different projects, and to look into the requirements of these projects, we need to understand what they need, what each stakeholders need. So the clinicians, first of all, these are our primary stakeholders, and they need project that is not just accurate. Accuracy is obviously the obviously very important. Our model needs to be accurate, but that is not enough. To fulfill the requirements of clinicians, we need to answer three questions. First of all, is that does our model solve a problem or a pain point that the physician actually cares about they face in real life and daily practice? The next one is that does our model or our project add rigidity or friction when we integrate it into the already built EHR system? So if it is not seamless and not low effort, then that's a problem. The next one is our model explainable? Is it interpretable? Can the clinician or the doctor understand why a specific recommendation was generated? So, if our model does not solve a pain point that the clinician is currently facing, it does not fit seamlessly into the EHR workflow, and it does not explain the output or the recommendation that it gives to the clinician, then that model is basically useless. So we need to, our model needs to fulfill those requirements. The secondary stakeholders are the IT and DevOps staff. So their requirements are the infrastructures. So to manage the cloud cost estimation and scalable resource allocation, and to manage the data access, which includes negotiating data usage agreements or business associate agreements for EHR narrative access, and then the security of the project to meet rigorous hospital firewalls and also HIPAA compliance standards. And last but not the least, we have stability to implement a reproducible, continuous integration and continuous deployment pipelines for production stability. So our code needs to be reproducible. It needs to have proper pipeline for deployment and integration. So these are the requirements for secondary stakeholders. And finally, the tertiary stakeholders are the administrative and financial staff. Their approval includes different factors like market sizing. The objective of that is to assess and evaluate the patient population impact. For example, how many patients per year will benefit from this project. Then the return on investment analysis. The objective is to ensure financial sustainability of a project. For example, if our project is reducing readmissions or it save times, if it does not save time or does not reduce readmissions, then that project is not worth pursuing. Next is the liability and risk analysis. The objective is legal and safety evaluation. So a question that could arise is who is responsible if the system fails? And for that, we have to have proper audits performed and conducted. And finally, the operational fit. The objective of that is resource alignment. For example, can our existing staff support this tool? So, moving on from those stakeholders, now let's look into testing our project. So, we have some user personas. And the first one is the power user, and their role is tech forward clinician or resident. And the impact is they are the early adopters who will test our GitHub repository and provide the most technical and clinical feedback. So this is for testing purposes, and the needs are detailed technical documentation and high frequency updates. So before they test our project, we need to have proper technical documentations and high frequency updates so they can provide us with the most technical and clinical feedback. The other personas include the skeptics and frontline, etc. So the skeptic is basically experienced clinicians who are very wary of black box algorithms. They require peer reviewed evidence and clear explanation of model failures to gain confidence. So these are the clinicians who make sure that the model has proper explainability, the model is interpretable, and it gives reasons to why it gives a specific output. And there are then the frontline workers who are the nurses and technicians who need real time, low friction alerts. They value efficiency over deep technical insight and will reject tools that create noise and friction inside their already built EHR infrastructures. So the problem or one thing that we have to make sure of is that our project to tackle the communication barriers of our project. And for that, we need to replace technical terms. For example, if we are using gradient boosting in our project, we need to replace that term with some clinical terms like risk stratification so that our project is the nurses and the medical staff can understand it better because the project is built for them. They are the end users. So we need to omit any vocabulary of data scientists and AI engineers and make sure that it is friendly to with clinical terms. Next is the visual evidence. We need to use high dashboards to show performance in an intuitive manner, and we also need to have empathy to actually listen to clinicians' frustrations rather than defensive technical explanations. So that is a core factor and very important for communication barriers to omit these communication barriers. And last but not least, we have contextual demos to show the tools in context of real patient case studies. Next, the barriers to adoption. So to make sure that our project integrates very well to the already orchestrated infrastructures, we need to identify some barriers, some obstacles, and then tackle them and remove those barriers. So the first one and the most prominent one is the alert fatigue, which is basically when our model bombards the clinicians with too many low value notifications, which leads to a total ignorance of the tools. Because if a clinician is constantly getting notifications that are irrelevant to them or that are of very less importance, they're going to ignore every notification that they get from our model and might miss a critical notification or warning or recommendation. And the next problem is the data silos, which are basically technical and cultural barriers that prevent data from moving freely between the departments. So we also need to tackle this problem as well. In order to properly make our project usable and maximize the clinical utility of our project, we can use iterative design to build, test, and refine protocol based on initial feedback. So we can also use usability testing to observe clinicians using the tools in a simulated environments. So using these feedback loops and usability testing, we will make sure that our project is of high clinical utility and it actually solves the problem, the pain points of the clinicians. Then the institutional governance. We have to make sure that our project is 100% compliant with legal regulations. And many hospitals today have dedicated AI oversight committees to evaluate new clinical algorithms before they touch patient data. So we need to have their compliance as well. And then there is the ethical factor, the ethical alignment, ensuring that our project aligns with institutional IRB and patient privacy standards and all and it is not discriminative against certain group, etc. So these are also very important factors that our project needs to comply with. So then there is the scalability and maintenance factor because we need to manage the life cycle, we need to estimate the cloud costs, developing long-term estimates are required for that, and also the model drift. We need to take into consideration the today's evolving era in clinical data science, and we need to plan updates as clinical practices evolve over time. So, the final goal of our project is to build a project protocol that is technically sound and institutionally supported. So, that's it.